And now, here is Coretta MacDonald, Member of Parliament and host of Advancing the Cause.
Good evening to you, and it's good to be here for another episode of Advancing the Cause. This evening I want to share with you some happy birthday wishes. Well, of course I can't call all the names because I'm going to get myself into trouble, so I'm going to generally say happy birthday to all those who would have celebrated their birthdays today, birthdays yesterday, and birthdays the days before. Happy birthday to you, and I trust that God would continue to bless you and give you the strength as you go into a new chapter of your life. But especially I want to mention Mistress Talbot from Buxton. She would have celebrated her 110th birthday yesterday. That's a big one. 110 years, and I am sure she has lots and lots of stories to tell about moving from 1 year to 110 years. But we'll talk about that a little later, and of course I have to go visit her to find out what is the recipe for that length of time being here. And so we have some sad news too. We want to extend condolences to all those who would have lost their relatives over the last couple of days. Our sincerest condolences to you, and we trust that God is going to comfort you at this time. But you notice tonight we've got big things happening, or big thing happening tonight on Advancing the Cause. And of course on this program, you know, we share only accurate information. And so for all those who are tuned in right now, just say to your friends, say to your neighbors, say to all your family members, Advancing the Cause is on. And so you need to log on to Advancing the Cause. And while you're doing that, let me share with you our thought for this evening. Our thought for this evening says, you're only confined by the walls you build around yourself. You're only confined by the walls you build around yourselves. So come on, we've got to start looking at the walls we're building. You know, sometimes those don't have to be physical walls, but walls that you create in your minds. And so you have to start looking at those walls, whether they are concrete walls, or, you know, long ago we used to have the picket fence, whether they're picket fence or whether they're staves or whether it's a zinc fence. You have to decide how you're going to build that wall, because that wall can confine you to one place, and we don't want that to happen. And so we move on Advancing the Cause. Tonight we're going to look at our highlights, and our highlights for tonight, the one big one, the big debate. And you're hearing the back and forth talks about this debate, and then you're hearing, well, somebody is not ready for the big league, and who? Come on, we need to have this debate going. We don't want to hear all the talks. Let's have the debate. I noticed the opposition leader would have indicated that he's ready. And so, Vice President, we don't want you to be running around this place. Come to the debate and let's judge the winner. Let's judge the best debater. So that's on, and it's causing quite a lot of stir. And so we have more and more reports of increase in crimes. And so just last evening we had 2 students from the Critchlow Labour College. They were robbed by some bandits on bicycles. Mr. Commissioner of Police, we're asking that you have your patrols going through the Wilford Avenue, that Wilford Avenue area, 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7, between those hours and 10 o'clock, you know. We usually have that area is usually desolate, and for other areas too, so that our students can go to classes, and then, you know, after classes they can walk down the streets feeling safe. So Mr. Commissioner of Police, could we ask you to have some of your patrols out there so that our citizens can feel well protected? And then the biggest of the 2, we had the debate, and now we have the bigger one, which is the $200 million US dollars that Guyana withdrew today from the oil revenues. And so you notice we got plenty monies. So teachers, listen out. Your increase is coming. Nurses and all other public servants, we beg. $200 million US dollars. But while I'm saying that we're big, maybe that or those monies would have already been accounted for, and I don't know. But I'm saying that we're big, we got plenty money, and I'm hoping that those monies can be used to benefit each and every single citizen in this country. And then I'm going to take a pause here and welcome my guest, because we have our guest in studio. And so our topic for this evening is the conspiracy to steal the credit union from the workers. I am a member of that credit union, and I've been paying, my subscriptions monthly. And it's quite a lot I've been paying. And I don't want my savings there to go into jeopardy. I want things to go right. So all this big commotion, look, y'all got to stop it. Stop it. That's the only avenue that ordinary workers, I know some people don't like to hear me say ordinary workers, but that's the only avenue where ordinary workers can go and get a $200,000, a $100,000, a $500,000, $1 million, $5 million, without having to think about all this big interest. And we're not going to have that closed because somebody else got their eyes on the plenty monies that we got there, and other persons are being used to do foolishness. Our business is straight, and we would have elected persons, we put them there to do a job, and we expect them to do a job. If things are not going your way, then the wider membership should be made aware. But we're going to get a little into that. And so, come on, share this live. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbor. Advancing the Cause is on, and our guest for this evening is a man who's just a very simple man, ordinary man. He's no stranger to us. We know him, all of us know him, and by now those who did not know him, you know him now, because once you're a member of the credit union, you know him. And so our guest this evening is Mr. Trevor Benn, who, as far as I am concerned, he is the chairman of the Guyana Public Service Union Credit Union. And so, Mr. Benn, welcome to this episode of Advancing the Cause. On this program, we tell the truth. We share accurate information with our viewers. And so it's a pleasure to have you here. I know the circumstances that we're having you here under would not have been the circumstances I would have wanted you to be here under. But this is what life is all about. We have to talk. We'll have ups and downs. But the important thing is how we deal with the issues that we have, whether it's in our organization or in our homes. So welcome to Advancing the Cause. And you're going to share with our viewers very quickly, who is Trevor Benn?
Good night, Coretta, and good night to your viewers. My name is well known, I believe, Trevor Benn now. Trevor Llewellyn Benn, I like to say, because there are lots of Trevor Benn in Guyana.
Okay.
But I was born in the Tugville community some years ago, and grew up in Tugville, Festival City, North Rheinveld. I went to school, Tugville Primary School, North Georgetown Secondary School, and at some point my parents moved to the West Coast Barbies, where I completed studies at the Bushlot Secondary School. From there I went to the Guyana School of Agriculture, and the rest is history. I've been at the University of Guyana, and in terms of work life, I've worked in the Ministry of Local Government. I serve as assistant and deputy REO.
Okay.
Some time ago. As the deputy, I acted, but as assistant was my substantive position. I also served for a brief period as a co-op officer. But before that, I was also a fisheries officer. So I've done a lot in the government service. And then I left and I went to work with the United Nations. I spent a couple years in the United Nations. I served here in Guyana. And I also do a few stints in Afghanistan and South Sudan, for example. I came back to work with the government in 2016 when I became Commissioner of Lands and Surveyors. And you know what happened in 2020.
Yes.
So since then I have been working on a more or less voluntary basis with the credit union. Not on a full-time basis, but trying to steer the ship there and make sure that the membership is well served. So that's
Good.
it for me.
So, Mr. Benn, I want to thank you for that brief introduction. So, you recognize, viewers, that we have a well-rounded man here. He's not only served in Guyana, but he has served further fields, and so he comes here with a complex compact, and I'm not sure what else you want to say, but he's rounded. And so he understands what management is all about and how to treat people. But I hear you, Mr. Ben, that you attended Tugville Primary.
Tugville Primary
and
School.
Tugville Secondary?
No.
Or Tugville Primary?
Nor Georgetown Secondary.
Well, you know, we have some issues. I'm taking you off of the topic. We have some issues at Tugville Primary, Tugville Secondary Primary in the same compound, you know, some issues of shocking. But we're going to deal with that because I recognize the PTA, they're very active, and the alumni and so on. So I'm hoping that we'll get those issues resolved at Tugville, but I just needed to mention that. Mr. Ben, for me, and I'm sure for other viewers out there who are members of the credit union, we've been members of the credit union for long. And I know it has been very tiring sometimes when you go there to apply for small loans and so on, and they run around and so on. Could you briefly say to us when you took over, and what were some of the things you met then?
Okay, so one of the things that struck me when I went to the credit union in 2018 is the length of time people took to get a loan. Ordinary Guyanese wanting a loan, and most of the time is money that they have. They're borrowing back, and it took them weeks to get that loan. The other thing is that we sat as management team and as signatories to the bank account, we sat for hours on end signing off checks. You know, and so when I went there, I said that this is not sustainable, neither for the members nor for the committee members who have to sign off and review the documents and so on. So I said that, look, we have to bring this down to a lesser time. And I'm happy to report that today, if you have all your documents in order, you can get that loan in the same day.
Wow.
You can get that loan in the same day. We have moved from signing checks to transfer electronically from your bank, our bank to your bank, and so on. So you no longer, once you submit your document, everything is in order, you go home and you check your bank account.
Wow. I am elated. As a matter of fact, I have never, I'm not sure why, but I never took any loan from the credit union, and I think it's because of the waiting time that had to be allowed. That is why I was never enthused in terms of going there to have a loan. But then Trevor Benn came on the scene. In which year you came? You came there. You went there as as management committee member?
Yes, so in 2018 I was asked by the then permanent secretary in the, I think he was in the Ministry of Telecommunication, Mr. Derek Cummins, if I would be willing to sit on this interim management committee. At the time I believe he was the chair of the National Co-op Union, and they were putting an IMC in place at the credit union because of issues that they had, and people were complaining. We met a situation where there were no audits done for many years. There were no dividends paid to the members for many years. And you know, the whole place was in a state of disrepair and so on. In fact, when it rained, we had to move out people from the lower flats and so on of the building and so on. So there was a lot of cleaning up, both physically, mentally. The staff, for example, the morale was quite low. The salaries were low. They weren't treated well by the management team. For example, only 2 or 3 people were getting gratuity. They were on contracts and they were getting monthly gratuity, for that matter, not 6-monthly gratuity. And the other staff were not getting gratuity. They were not getting a pension or anything. So since we got there, we decided, look, let's talk with the workers' union, because since the 1970s there was no collective bargaining done for the staff. And so it was just the management team over time deciding how the staff must be treated. So when we went there, we said this is not acceptable. And we called in the union to begin negotiations, and from then we have had a really good relationship with the workers' union. And we have had 2 agreements signed since. One of them most recently, and given the staff considerable increase in allowances and in their salaries and so on. It's important to note that to meet the needs of our members, we have to have a staff that is really versatile, a staff that is competent and efficient, and so we don't want anything in the way to make sure to give reason to the staff not to perform. So we tried our best. We increased salaries since 2018 by over 200% for most staff. Some staff even more than that. And we, of course, if you go to the building, for those people who were there in 2018 and who are there now, today I was out there and people were saying, you know, they didn't even realize it's a credit union, they nearly passed the building. So, but our intention was to make sure that when our members visit, they could be comfortable, they can be properly received, they can have access to the facilities easily. A lot of our members are elderly people. I met a woman today who was in the organization for over 40 years. She came there with a walking stick just to say that she wants to give support for what I'm doing, and she has been a member for this long and so on, and she wanted to continue the improvements that have started. So people like her are now able to walk through the lower flat and get all the services they need on the lower flat. Previously, they had to struggle up a stairs that was really badly designed, and you know, so many people didn't even want to come to the credit union because of the facilities that they had to endure. Today, it's a place where people want to come. But we don't want people to have to come to the credit union. The credit union must be a place where, wherever you live, you could enjoy the benefits.
Oh.
So one of the things we were planning to do, for example, is to implement ATM cards, so that like the elderly members who still have large amounts of money there, their savings, maybe their pension come to us every month or whatever the case might be, wherever they live, they could use the card. We might have machines at strategic locations for them to be able to access their money. They shouldn't have to leave Linden, for example, to come to Georgetown.
So let me call you Trevor. Let's get a little more into this thing and don't go with too much of the formality. Trevor, I am hearing all of these things. This is Trevor Benn there with his team, and Trevor Benn has been able to move with his management committee, move the Guyana Public Service Credit Union. One, the staff, in terms of building capacity, building morale. And you're doing far better than the government, because you would have increased salaries to 200% and over, and regular public servants out there getting 3.5 when they give them 7 and they take out the taxes. And so this in itself is a big jump here for the workers, and I can understand, or you know, I understand now why your workers have been so dedicated to their job, because here it is, you have a team who's not only looking to get the job done, but they're ensuring that the welfare of their staff members are met. And then you went further than that. You have moved the entire service that is given to a level that none can complain. You're taking in your documents, making your loan application. If everything is in place, you get that loan the same day. You don't have to be walking out of there with a check to go to stand up in a bank or with cash, but you can go to your bank. So we have the bank-to-bank transfer. And you know, I really want to congratulate you on these steps that you would have taken along with your team. Because as a matter of fact, let me say, one day I was driving along there and I said, it's by the credit union. I couldn't believe the transformation. And this here, elections was your elections?
2021, last year.
Last year was your elections. And in a matter of months, we're seeing all this kind of transformation at the GPSCU's credit unions building. As a matter of fact, the avenue now is an envy to others. And I'm hoping that others will take pattern from you. But, you know, the thing is, this is Trevor Benn. Not doing for Trevor Benn, but Trevor Benn is ensuring that, you know, along with his team, let me say that because I don't want persons to say I'm looking at Trevor Benn. But with Trevor Benn at the helm, we've seen all of these things happening. And you have so many other plans for the members where you can set up machines at strategic points so they can use their ATM card. But then in the midst of all of these nice things happening, we got a boom. Would you care to say, I know the matter is a very delicate one, and so we're not going to go into too much details, but I'm sure there must have been something that would have caused this blow up. And I'm wondering whether there is no place within the organization or its bylaws that talks about if there is an infraction, how to deal with it. Because I know in labor there are procedures and there are various steps, and so I'm wondering whether there was an infraction and then the steps were followed, and when you couldn't go any more up the step, then you had a fallout.
So Coretta, I'm known for trying to solve problems. I would prefer to err on the side of giving people an opportunity to right whatever wrong they've done, rather than to be passing judgment on them. When I went to the credit union, there were a number of people, names that were given to me, who the people said need to be removed from the system for all kinds of reasons. And I said to those people, I don't care what happened before I came, but once I'm here, I'm going to be judging you from the time I'm here. So whatever you did wrong, let's turn a new slate, wiping the slate clean, and let's take it from there. But always, I remind staff, I remind the managers that our priority is our members. At the level of the committee, I think 2018 to 2021 were the best years. The committee, which by the way was an IMC at the time. Okay. We had a really good working relationship, very, very good working relationship. At the launching of the Avenue project that we just launched there, Minister Onage Walrun was there, and she was part of our committee at the time. And she said publicly, the 2 years that she spent on that committee were among the best years of her life. She thoroughly enjoyed working with me as chair, and she shared the vision that I had for the credit union. It's on record, of her saying that. But that was the understanding of us as a team. We sat and we deliberate and we made decisions. I'd like to say that most of the decisions are not mine. Many times a staff might come up to me in the corridor and say, Mr. Ben, I have this idea. And I said, wow, lovely. Let's develop it. And we run with it. A team from the management committee come with an idea. And we said, let's go with it. Once the ideas are progressive and they're going to enhance the well-being of our members, why not? For example, in 2020 when the COVID started, one of the staff members came to me and said, Mr. Ben, you know, a lot of our members are suffering as a result of COVID. They're not working, and prices have gone up, this has happened, that has happened. Can we do something for our members? And they suggested that we offer a $50,000 loan on top of whatever loan people had, and at no additional interest. Okay. That was very popular. That became very popular. We gave out thousands of those loans, you know? And so that's one idea that came from a staff member. The other thing that came from another staff member was that, look, we are collecting so much from our member, but we're not giving back as much as we should. Why don't we have a Christmas program where we give back to our members? And so in 2019, we started this Christmas program. Not my idea, but it's an idea that the members loved. And I would bet you that these are ideas that people in many institutions have, but don't have the opportunity to share it with someone who's willing to listen. So in me, they were able to get a listening ear on the ideas, and once they can develop it for the benefit of our members, we run with it. So a lot of these ideas are not mine. I am being accused of hogging up all the attention that the institution gets for the new projects. But if you listen to me at every opportunity, I speak of the management team or the staff. I always congratulate them for their support and the work that they're doing, and and so on and so forth. So this is not about me, by the way. This institution is bigger than any one of us. At the end of the day, what is necessary is for us to maintain an arrangement where ordinary Guyanese, who are our members in majority, can continue to benefit from our products. The most recent products that we introduced, the vehicle loans and the mortgages, are very popular. In the last year, we have issued just about $1 billion worth in loans between car and mortgages. And we are on course to do a similar this year. Not everybody will qualify still, even though we try to accommodate as many people as possible. I tell the staff that no one should be turned away without giving them an opportunity to come up with a plan of how they can meet the requirement. So we need to work with them. So this institution has to be members focused, and it needs the type of leadership and the type of management that will allow for the focus to remain on the members. And that's what I am offering.
But Trevor, it's amazing that we saw a management committee working good, everything nice and good. The members are extremely happy about the services that they would have received. Now, as soon as you would have had your elections, and these, the entire team that you have there, the persons who have come out against you, were the persons I saw you campaigning with. And so it leaves one to wonder, what could have gone so wrong? We were there all the time, and we decided that we wanted to put a particular team in place, and so that we can take this credit union further, another step, 3 other steps. But then in the midst of doing that, when the thing is now legalized, we're having confusion, and it causes one to wonder whether persons are serious about meeting the needs of its members, or persons are there to serve self. And these questions we cannot put them in a corner. These are the questions that keeps popping up. What is this whole big issue that persons want to remove Trevor Benn from the organization? I'm not sure. I did not hear this one. And so I didn't hear that Trevor Benn has been involved in corrupt practices where he's collecting monies on the side, he's issuing contracts, and he's getting monies on the side. I've not heard those things, and those are very, very good things for you not to hear. But you're just hearing that Trevor Benn wants to be in control. He wants to be in control of everything. But the thing is, at the end of the day, we all know this. As the chair, you're answerable to whatever. And so you must take some sort of ownership with whatever is being done there. In terms of being the leader, you have to lead and ensure that the project, even if we have committees working on projects, you must be there to be able to say, okay, yes, we did this, yes, we did that, this one wasn't completed. If a member calls to say, well, I submitted ABC, and up to now, you must be able to answer. So I don't understand the kinds of talks that we're having. But tell us about this whole thing with the CEO's position and that of the chairman, because I'm hearing the whole talks about Mr. Benn wanting to be the chairman and the CEO. He wants both positions. First of all, let us establish this one. The position of CEO, was it always there, or this is a new position that has been created?
Okay, let me give you some background. First of all, in cooperative societies, we have a position called, most of the times, secretary manager.
Secretary manager.
It's equivalent to like a CEO. The manager is like the CEO, with a position attached as being the secretary of the organization as well. So the two positions have been merged since cooperativism has come to Guyana. So the position of chair and CEO is not very different from that. I don't understand the issues relating to it. But anyway, the issue arose in 2019, early 2019. Well, we started in 2018 when we recruited a consultant to look at our HR policy and the structure of the organization and to tell us what we can do to improve the management of the organization. So we hired this consultant, and she spoke with every staff member. She came in and she reviewed our policies and had a report submitted. And in that report, she suggested that we should have this position established, CEO, in 2019. Okay. We did not appoint anyone to that position because at the time there was an officer in charge that came with the IMC. So once there was election in 2020 and the officer in charge was no longer there, the position became available. At that time, by that time, for some time, I had been performing the duties like a CEO, going in there, having meetings with the managers, going through what the work program for the week, talking with them about how to achieve the targets and so on, and giving advice. So every week I'm in there, sometimes 3-4 times a week, but on Thursdays especially, I'm there with the managers for a long time, talking to them about what we need to achieve. So I did that for nearly 2 years. And I proposed to the management team that for a short while we could twin the two positions, the CEO and the management and the chairman position. I didn't do this on my own. Every decision that has to be made goes to the committee of management. And it went to the committee of management in November of last year. And the committee of management said, no, we don't want a king, so to speak.
Okay.
That's how they saw it. And I respected their decision. So after then, there was no discussion about it. And we went ahead and advertised a position for a CEO. So I was surprised lately when this thing came up that I wanted this position. Yes, I did make myself available if they were willing, but they made it very clear no, and I respected that. But when it comes to the CEO, the position was advertised internally, and the HR committee was put in charge of that. And I had no role in it whatsoever. I stood back, I didn't give any instruction about how it should be done. I allowed the HR committee to manage the process. But when it comes to submitting the report as to who won and who is the most qualified person to be CEO, because it was only done internally, three things happened. One, I was notified that the HR division was kept out of the process completely. They had no role, which was very strange. Secondly, the advertisement for the position expired and got a certain number of applicants, and it was extended for 2 days, and we were told that the candidate who now is being recommended was asked to apply in that 2-day period. That was circulating. In fact, the candidate herself told members of staff that what happened. She told them. And so when I received the report from the team, I said, look, this is a one-pager that they submit to me, one-page document. This is the CEO of a almost $6 billion organization that you are hiring. And you're submitting one-page document for review by the committee to make a decision. I said, this is not acceptable. You have to give me the notes of the meeting, of the process, the interviewing process, to help me to Because the other thing that happened is that there were two other people who applied who were senior to this person. Two other people in the organization that is senior to her. And you're saying to me that they're not qualified, but she is. I want to be absolutely sure that when that decision is made, the two people, one of whom was her boss, must feel satisfied, and they will not take us to court and have us strung up, you know. So I insisted that we get this report, and they told me that I'm insulting them by asking for this report, the notes. And at that point I said, this don't make no sense. And I asked the vice chairman to take over the meeting, and I left.
So, Mr. Ben, you're saying to us here that you had an ad placed, there was an ad placed in the newspaper, and that came out of a meeting.
No, the ad was internally.
Right. All right. You had an ad there for the vacancy
Right.
that you're now the position you're now creating.
Yeah.
And so coming out from management, I'm sure there must have been a committee set aside to say, well, look, these are the things we're looking for. We probably went out, maybe looked at what is happening in other ministries, and we pulled together job description and what qualifications and so on should be like. I'm sure you must have had that.
There was a JD set up. There was a JD set up which was circulated, but the only involvement I had was advising the team to have external interviewing panel, because since you're advertising internally, we all know everybody in the organization,
and so you don't want it to go as if you favor this person over that person.
It makes sense to have a team of people from outside of the organization to interview them.
Well, I could agree with that, because the thing is, we as the GPSCU's credit union, you must have friends around, you must have professional friends, and so it would have been a good idea for you to bring one in. But I'm coming back to this point of us talking about the criteria, what should be, what we expect from this person in terms of qualification, years of experience and so on. I'm sure that must have been there. And I'm still trying to figure out, here is Trevor Ben, who wants to be a king, but here is a management committee who is doing whatever they have to do, but this so-called king is not informed about what is happening. This is what I'm getting. And this in itself is conflict. If we're going to do something, then we must be open about what we do, because we have nothing to hide. And so this, I figure that's where the whole issue started boiling, where you had an interviewing panel, you have an HR committee, but the HR committee was kept completely out of this.
No, the HR committee managed it, but the HR division, the staff, the committee is the elected people.
Okay.
But the staff that is there to manage the HR division, the process and recruitment and all of these things, they were not involved.
Okay, so not one or two of them were involved in the process.
No.
And so we had a date, and then that date was extended. What was the reason for the extension of the date?
I was not given any explanation.
Well, you know, the thing is, if we're going to have timelines and we're going to extend those timelines, then we must say, you know, well, we had the timeline and there were no applicants, so we extended it for another 2 days. And so that in itself would have created some concerns or eye-opening.
Yeah.
And so we have now one candidate that would have been selected as against from 3 candidates, and you're not aware of maybe what the questions were, what was the point scheme that was used.
I eventually got a list of 15 questions that was asked, but my experience has been with the places that I work is that you have to have notes during the interview. The interviewer, there's a team of interviewers, 4 or 3 people, and they take notes on the candidates. And based on those notes, they allocate points.
Well, but this is what I was getting at, where you have a panel, whether it's 3 or 4, and you have a task sheet in front of you that talks about 1, deportment, whether it's 5 points or whatever, qualifications so much, experience so much, how the candidate deliver in terms of answering the questions, so many marks or so many points, and then something else, so many points, and then you have a total, let's say, we're going to use just a number, 50 points. And so each person on the interviewing panel would have their sheet, and then at the end of it, we do the average.
Yep. Yep. So
And
I didn't see that.
And coming out of that, we select the best candidate.
Yeah. But even at the end of that, some processes would still not be compelled to take anybody from there. You might want to do a second interview.
Well, that's
or you
true.
might want to do a test. So, because especially in light of what happened with us, where this individual who has a boss running for the position, you want to satisfy every individual that you have done all you can to make sure that you have the best candidate. So you might want to do a second interview, or whatever the case might be.
Yes, while I hear that you have a boss who's running for the position too, you might have another candidate who's junior, but based on qualification or something like that, they might have an edge over the person who's the boss.
Yeah.
And we understand all of that.
Yeah.
But I'm clearly getting that the entire process was a flawed process. And if we have flawed processes, then that is cause for concern, especially where members are involved and members who are paying their monies there are involved, then that's cause for concern. You see, the thing is, as organizations, we cannot talk about what government is doing and then we practice the same things.
Yep.
If we are going to talk about what other persons are doing, then we have to ensure that we're above board.
Yep.
And so we're getting the impression that some of these things that were done, they were not above board. And then, of course, Trevor Benn, the king, or Trevor Benn, who wants to be the king, he put in a block on this. I've heard rumors around the place that, because Trevor Benn and somebody else stopping the squandering of monies, that we don't want him there.
Interesting.
We're hearing because Trevor Benn stopping all kinds of things. Trevor Benn don't want people to go on all of these trips and so on. And it really, really angers me when I hear in working environments, people talk about trips. You don't go on trips. You go to a conference, you go to a seminar, and it's a working session, it's a working travel or something like that. You go on work assignments. So when you talk about trips, it gets the impression that one is just going to gallivant.
Yeah, right.
And so when I heard the thing about Trevor not wanting people to go on trips overseas, I said, well, I guess Trevor's right. Because you're not going on trips spending people's money, workers' monies, to go on trips. You're going there to work and to come back with new knowledge and skills of how we can improve our organization. But these are some of the things that have been circling around. But I noticed today we had, as a matter of fact, since this whole thing happened, we have seen lots and lots and loads and loads of comments on Facebook. Man, this thing here with the GPSCU's credit union, many of our members, including me, we are saying that we have moved from one stage, we started climbing the mountain, and here is it, we are sliding right down. The comments that you are getting, they're not nice. They don't reflect anything good about the credit union, in the sense that members are saying, Trevor's been there and he's look what he did from when he started to where we're at now. Why do we want to remove Trevor from there? Why couldn't we call in the membership, or why couldn't we look for some external mediator to come and mediate if we were having some issues? Why we have to have all this big blow up in the media, and then you have all kinds of people saying all kinds of things. But what I know for sure is that many of our members are saying they are going to call for a special meeting. They're demanding a special meeting where the general membership will have the opportunity to say what they want to see in place. And that's okay, because in any organization, the largest decision-making body is the membership out there, just like national elections when we have them. And so I'm not sure how early that is going to be, but I noticed today there were lots of members who were out there giving support to Trevor Benn. And this is not to the committee, and this is not to the organization, but this is Trevor Benn. People stood out there for Trevor Benn. And I'm wondering, Trevor Benn wants to be the king, but here you have a whole nation, let me put it that way, supporting this king, which means that there must have been something in this king that the people out there are seeing. How did you feel about what transpired today with the members coming out there to give support to you?
I'm very touched by the outpouring of support today. Actually, even though I went out there. I did not expect the level of support. As I said earlier, there were people who were in the organization for 40 years who showed up there and said to me that, you know, if whatever you want me to do, I'm here to do for you, but we are not accepting this, and we're going to bring our children along with us next time, and so on and so forth. But I suspect because I made myself available to the members since I've been there. People reach out to me all the time on WhatsApp, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, email. This is my problem, sir. Can you help me? And every last member that does that gets a response. Whether I can do it, what they want or not. Sometimes I put them in touch with somebody in the office. It doesn't work. They come back to me. I have to go to the office myself and fix it, but I make sure I am there for the persons who have issues. So maybe because of that, people recognize that I've been a people person and trying to work for the membership. And so they're happy with what I've been able to do. But also, there's no denying that the services have improved tremendously. The staff relations have improved, and the staff relations with members of the public has improved over the last few years. And so people are seeing it. It's open to them. So I guess that is playing a part.
Well, you know, Trevor, we have seen, like I said, we have seen a whole new transformation at that organization. As a matter of fact, persons, I myself, I had to get some information. I made a call. I'm not sure who the young lady is. She answered the telephone and she said, kindly hold. And in a matter of minutes, I was able to get the information that I wanted. Back then, I would have had to go visit the organization. The phone would have been ringing out, and this is no exaggeration, or it's not because Trevor is here, but the phone would have been ringing out. And when I finally got there, I would have had to go to the office and then come another day, and maybe come another day to get the information that I'm seeking. And we are proud as members of the credit union. We are proud of what the achievements that would have been made. Like I said earlier in the program, that avenue is an avenue that is being envied by quite a lot. And this is just in a matter of months. And, you know, one of the things that really struck me is the fact that in such a short time, I have seen teachers, because I'm a teacher and I'm part of the teachers organization, I have heard teachers talking about getting monies from the credit union to help them purchase their duty-free vehicles. And they didn't have to take a long time. And they're satisfied with the conditions under which they have to do their repayment. They don't have to worry that somebody can come and seize their vehicle and all of these things. I've heard teachers talk about going there, and as a matter of fact, teachers very often, as recent as today, a teacher asked, Miss, could you sign my form for me? And so outside of teachers, nurses, and all other public servants are saying that we're getting the same cry from them. Why is it that we're having this kind of confusion at the GPSCU's credit union? What is really causing this? Is it the position of chairman? Is it a paid position?
No. Well, we all get a stipend.
We all get a stipend.
All of us get a stipend.
Just like what happens at the GTU and in many other organizations where we do get stipend. The position of CEO is a paid position, paid full-time position. I was a little, you know, taken aback when I saw the salary and the other benefits that this individual would be receiving. Is the organization, are we at that level to be able to sustain that kind of salary at the end of the month? Because we still have other staff to pay, and then we have all of these projects that we're going to be looking at. Would we be able to sustain that? Was that salary that was put together, was it something that was discussed at length? I mean, I'm asking these questions because I'm thinking that as members, we ought to know some of these things. And the members should have a say with regards to what should be here, what should be there. I mean, I'm not downplaying the fact that if people work, they should not be paid. But we must be able to, and we must make sensible decisions. Let me put it this way: is the credit union able to sustain that? And especially when we're going to be looking at increases here and increases there from time to time over the year, is the organization able to sustain that?
So let me say first of all that we did recently had a consultant do an exercise to look at salary scales across semi-autonomous agencies and similar type agencies. And they came up with a suggested salary scale for managers and I think the CEO. I cannot confirm whether the salary that the CEO is getting now fall into that. It just might, I'm not sure. But in terms of the decision for that, I played no role. The committee made that decision on their own. And even the appointment of the CEO, it was not part of the committee. As far as I'm aware, there was no discussion at our statutory meeting about when the appointment is going to take place, how much money the person is going to be paid, and the conditions and so on. That was not part of discussions in our statutory meeting.
Well, you know, these are issues that we really have to discuss at our meeting level. And just the same way management said they did not want to have a king, then we should have had all of these issues discussed, and we decide whether we want to have a queen or a king or a prince or a princess. You know, we need to discuss these things. We need to be above board so that anybody can ask a question and anybody would be able to answer those questions.
So I want to say to the membership, you have the authority, you have the right to turn up at our statutory meetings and ask to observe. Any and every member must and should have the right to come on the second Saturday of every month and say, I, Tom Jones, would like to observe your meeting today, and be allowed to do so. So members should make use of that opportunity. All right, they must come and say that, look, I ain't got nothing to do today, I just want to sit in and hear what y'all talking about. We spend long hours in meetings. It's crazy, but most statutory meetings last for 6 hours minimum. 6 hours minimum. So King Ben allow meetings to go for 6 hours because we have to discuss every item minutely. I don't know of any king that allows that to happen.
So, Mr. Ben, Trevor, let me see. The statutory meeting is on the second Saturday of every month. What time?
At 10 o'clock.
At 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So, viewers, if you are members of the credit union, then you can make yourself available on the second Saturday of every month at 10 o'clock or just before 10 o'clock to say, look, I'm a member, this is my number, I am here asking or seeking permission to be seated as an observer in the meeting because I really want to find out. So this is some bit of information that we have never gotten, but I'm happy that we are here and we're getting this information. So members, viewers who are members, remember this, the second Saturday of every month, there's a statutory meeting of the credit union. It starts at 10 and you are permitted to sit there as an observer and observe whatever happens. And as an observer, would you be able to ask a question or two?
Well, it depends on the discretion of the chairman. You might be able to, but it's not compulsory, but maybe, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. But I think it's something, it's some,
maybe you could submit something in writing.
Okay.
You may not get the answer right away because you don't want to turn the meeting into a circus too, where people just misuse the opportunity to come and create trouble.
Okay.
But yes, if people are serious about the running of the organization and want to know, they could come and observe. They should be allowed to come and observe.
All right.
We might say that we can entertain no more than so many people, but at least members should know that they have that right.
All right, good. So we're still going around again to this whole issue because I really want our viewers to understand what exactly is transpiring there. Now we have gone sour, and because we are humans, we have feelings. Feelings have been hurt. people talking about Trevor Benn, the committee, and Trevor Benn's family, they are hurting too. Somebody else's family is hurting, members are hurting. How do we move forward in terms of being able to quell this whole issue? If the committee were to say, look, Mr. Benn, we're calling you back tomorrow. Are you willing to return and to, I know it's going to take some time to get back to normalcy, but are you willing to return and let's start all over again?
Listen, I'm there for the members, and if it will make sure that the progress continues, why not? You know, this is bigger than me, and what we are having to do as committee members is to make sure that we don't interfere with the smooth running of the organization and to cause the members to suffer unduly. So I think it's to our benefit as committee members to have this resolved as soon as possible and turn back the focus on managing the organization for the benefit of all.
For the benefit of our members. And so, Trevor, we are here, like I said, we're hurting because this is our organization. I am not sure what are the forces that are behind all that is happening. But the thing is, it is so alarming that in the split of a second, like an accident.
Yes.
This whole blow up that we're having here, and it's not good for us as workers. As workers, we are already suffering. And we are not going to allow anybody to take over our credit union. As a matter of fact, if you've noticed the trend, this is the new trend where people just want to come and shut this place down and shut that place down and shut the other down, especially if these are organizations that are performing the duty as a cushion to the poor and ordinary workers. And we're not going to allow this. And so I want to call on the members of the management committee to allow good sense to prevail. In life, we make mistakes, but it's not the mistake that we should be dwelling on, it's how we move forward in terms of creating the kinds of solutions that will better the lives of all of us. This whole issue with Trevor Benn and the management committee, it is a minute issue because our membership is much larger and much more important, the benefits that we can offer to our members. And I am hoping that, you know, somebody somewhere would want to step in outside of membership or along with membership, that we can have persons coming on board to say, look, this is nonsense. You people need to come here, let's sit and talk. Let's sit and talk. Now, if we were to sit and talk, would this whole thing of the appointment of the CEO and all of that would come into question again? We have to review that process?
You know, every decision made outside of the statutory meeting and sanctioned by the statutory meeting, for me, is not a decision, and it should be reviewed.
All right. So I don't know how we would have operated, whether we have the minutes to show how many persons were there, what were the votes, or I don't know. I like I said, and that's why I have you here, because I'm going to roll back a little. We had a statutory meeting one day, and I'm hearing that there was a WhatsApp message that was sent informing members of this statutory.
That was not the statutory meeting. We had the statutory meeting the week before, and this WhatsApp message was sent on the 20th, almost 1 week after the statutory meeting, because of some issue that members felt was raised in social media, and they were called names, etc. And they were unhappy with it. And so they called a meeting to discuss that. And at that meeting, the no confidence was, I was out of town that day. I did not see the WhatsApp message that came, and so I did not participate in the meeting. I know for a fact that one member who participated in the meeting said to them that you cannot make this decision without giving Mr. Benn a hearing, one of the members who were there. That member eventually did not vote on the issue. And yeah, but they said that we're going ahead because we have the numbers. That's what they said to the member.
So, members, we're getting a little more hot. We're getting some meat on the rice now. So it's a numbers thing.
Yeah.
It's like what happens, in the parliament. The government, they have the numbers, so they don't care how much you talk about these issues. It's like, we had the issue of the vaccine, the Sputnik vaccine, when the opposition arm raised a whole lot of questions about the Sputnik, and we talked about this middleman and why this middleman got to be involved, why we can't go directly to the supply and so on. People didn't want to hear that. We have the numbers, so we voted, and the vote went. All to the detriment of our people, because you recognize what is happening. The WHO, they have not recognized the Sputnik, and you can't travel to certain places with the Sputnik vaccines. So now, our people, they have to end up taking another vaccine, which could have been avoided a long time ago, because we spoke about the storage of these vaccines and all of these things, but numbers sting. And so when you hear this kind of flip thing going again with numbers, you tend to wonder whether it's somebody with other numbers influencing the numbers that we have here again. And of course, I have to say this. It is totally wrong to bring an accusation against somebody and not give that person the opportunity to defend themselves. That's totally wrong. And I'm disappointed that we have in that grouping some persons who sat around the trade union movement, who I expected, or who I would have expected to know better. Even if you're coming with a no confidence motion, then that motion should have been issued, especially if it's coming against me, then it should have been out there, and I should have been given an opportunity to defend myself. I mean, you can't listen to, on social media, all sorts of things are being said on social media. We just saw, what's his name, MP German Figueroa winning a lawsuit. I mean, if persons don't like what a commentator on a social media platform is saying, then you can direct your attention to that young man and let him question him, squeeze him, and let him say where he got the information from. But just don't accuse other persons of filtering information out there when you actually don't have any proof. And then you move to another level. I think that in itself was very, very unprofessional, very childish. And for me and for other persons, there seems to be more in the matter than what is coming out there. Every time you have that, what you call it, epistle, that yes, it seems to be spilling more and more things out. But this is where we are, viewers, with regards to the Guyana Public Service Credit Union and this whole conspiracy that is being played out right now to punish workers. Let me say it, to punish workers, because when we close this, where else are our workers going to go to ensure that they have the kind of cushion to assist them to do things for themselves? We should not be getting involved in these kinds of petty behavior. Trevor, like I said, it's a pleasure to have you here, but I would just want you to give us a little more on the whole issue of the credit union, its functions, what are the benefits that members could have, how much they can get, starting from the lowest loan or grant, whatever you call it, to the highest. Could you share that with us?
Yeah. So the credit union is geared towards supporting the poor and the powerless. In simple language, started many years ago. The Guyana Public Service is 58 years this year, which is why we felt that we had to do something for the community. We have been in that community since the 1970s, and we felt we had to give back. They were very good to us over the years, with all the noise, all the tent, all of the problems we had with members protesting in front of the homes of people in the street. We felt we had to do something for them, and that's why the Avenue project came up. In 2019, we started discussing the Avenue project to give back to the community. In terms of the credit union itself and how members can benefit, every member who has 6 months or more as a member is entitled to a loan. We encourage members to take a small loan first and pay that off as a measure of testing how they are able to manage loans. And once they pay that off, then they could apply for larger amounts. I have heard stories of people building their house before we start giving mortgages. People come and take a small loan, they build the foundation, or they start the foundation, then another loan to finish the foundation, and so on until they finish their house. Just today I was speaking with a friend of mine who was saying to me that she built her house back in the days from the credit union. So even though we weren't giving mortgages, people were able to access sums of money over time to build their home. So before 2021, it was just loans where you had to find guarantors, which is a real problem for many people.
Yep.
People these days are very shy about signing as guarantor because of experiences, bad experiences most of the time. So it is difficult for people to get guarantors. But people, they ought to know that if you don't, you don't always have to have a loan that is for a guarantor. You could borrow just what you have. If you have 300,000, I want 300,000. And you could sign for yourself and get that money to borrow.
Okay.
If you have 500,000 and you want 500,000, you could. The problem is when you want more than you have. Because if you have 300,000, you want, the thing is you can get 3 times what you have. 3 times, if your money is 300,000, then you are entitled to 900,000. But you have to have guarantors for the 600,000. So that's where the problem comes in. Sometimes members, the guarantors don't have the amount of savings to allow them to be a guarantor for the full amount. So which is why members end up having to have 5 guarantors, 10 guarantors, so that because it's a lot of small amounts people have saved over time. And so if you have a friend who have a small amount, that amount may not add up to what the excess that you want. You have to have a second guarantor or a third guarantor and so on. And that has been very, very frustrating for a lot of our members.
I can tell you that.
We have been toying with how we could fix that to make sure, because let me tell you, we have one of the lowest delinquency rate in the financial industry in Guyana, the Public Service Credit Union. Even though it is the lowest paid people mostly borrowing, we have the lowest delinquency rate in the industry.
Wow.
So our people pay back their money. They pay the money. They are dedicated to making sure that they pay back, and not only pay, in addition to paying every month, they save alongside the paying. So which is good and help them the next time they want to borrow, they can borrow more and so on and so forth. But with the new loans that we have introduced, you can get up to $5 million for a car or $15 million for a house. You can also borrow, use your title or some other form of guarantor to borrow money to start a business. I noticed one gentleman not so long ago buy a truck. He wanted to go into the sand business. He came, used one of his documents, and he put that down for his truck and so on. So there are various opportunities. So it is not restricted to car loans and truck. If you want to start a business and you have a collateral that you want to put down, that could be facilitated.
Which does not require a guarantor.
Which does not require a guarantor.
Good. So viewers, especially if you're members, you're hearing what you can do, how much monies you can borrow from the credit union, and you don't need a guarantor. As all you need to have is a title or a transport that is valued, somewhat, and you use that to come into the credit union. In addition to your document, this title or this transport, what else you need? You need ID card and your membership. Well, of course, you would have the membership forms there and the membership ID and whatever else there. But it's as easy as that. And so members, the credit union has money, so go get some monies. But Trevor, again, let me say it's really, really sad that we've come this far and we're allowing personalities, because this whole thing here seems to be an issue of personality clash. And it seems as if people are not man and woman enough to call a spade or a shovel. I mean, we're in an organization, and if things are not right, then we should say it. This is not about friend and wanting to be friend with Trevor or wanting to be friend with somebody else. If things are not right, then we need to say things are not right, and that's the only way we'll be able to move on. And our credit union will not suffer because of a few persons, whether it's Trevor or whether it's whoever, our credit union will not suffer because of those persons who have those little ideas in their heads. We have come a far way. 50 years is plenty years. There are lots and lots of persons who have not lived to see 50 years. So for this organization being there for 50 years and making the lead way, the gaps it has made over the last 3 or 4 years, we cannot afford to allow this to go down. And so we're going to fight to ensure that our credit union stays there under superb management. Again, Trevor, you have been doing a good job with your team. You are the helm there, and I want to thank you on behalf of our viewers and on behalf of all the members for what you have been able to do there, for the transformation, not only in terms of the physical building, but in terms of the services that are being offered to our members. Again, we are going to ensure that this whole conspiracy come to an end. It is not going to be successful because the lives of many workers out there depend on what happens in the credit union. All those persons who would have made sacrifices to get this credit union to where it's at now, we are not going to allow that to go down the drain. And I'm saying this to all those who are watching, and for those who are not watching, somebody who are watching, tell somebody else. The GPSCU's credit union will not fall prey to any person who seem to want to conspire to bring this one down. It's not going to go there. We will not, as members, we will not allow it. And I want to make this program open to any one of the other members who feel that they have a part of the story to share. We would want to hear the other part of this story if there's another part of the story to share. As a matter of fact, we'd be happy, I would be happy to let's maybe have a little panel discussion on this program so we can share the issues. Mind you, we're going to be respectful with our delivery, but let's share our issues, let's make our statements, and we can probably have the trial right here, so that the members will understand exactly what has happened and we make the decision on where we go after now. My viewers, I want to thank you so much for being here with us. Trevor, thank you for being here with us. Of course, you've shared quite a lot with us. And again, let me say it's sad that this is happening, and we are at a stage. As a matter of fact, our country is at a crucial stage. And for us to be plugging all of these injections, more and more injections, deadly injections, I must say, into our workers, it's not going to work. We will fight and we will survive this. Just a couple of days ago, we celebrated May Day, Workers' Day, and workers in this country are the ones who turn this economy. And we can't afford to be turning the economy, getting bad treatment from the government, and getting bad treatment now at the hands of the persons who are going to be at the credit union, because we are not, there's a saying from old people, you know what you get. You know we're coming. And so what we have, we like what we have. And we've seen things happening, and we're not sure what will happen later on with somebody else. And so we're going to keep what we have. If there are misdeeds, then we are going to address them. There are forums for those to be addressed, and I'm sure not in that way. And so our viewers, thank you for being here with us. Trevor, thank you again for being here with us. And let me repeat, this program is open to any other member of the management team who feel that they have a story to tell. But before we go, let me say to your viewers, just recently we had the COVID restrictions all of them were thrown off the shelf, and we had them there. All those restrictions, including the wearing of masks and so on, they were relaxed. But just about a day or two ago, I recognized the Minister of Health is saying that our COVID numbers have started increasing again, and he's advising members of the public, citizens of this country, to wear your mask. And so I'm going to close on that note. COVID is alive and well, like I've been saying all along. COVID kills. Wear your mask. Stay away from large crowds. Use your hand sanitizers or wash your hands as often as possible, and encourage your neighbors, encourage your friends to do the same thing. You are valuable, and we want to have you here to help develop this country, and two, to enjoy the monies we are going to be receiving, or the monies we've started receiving from the oil that we have here. It belongs to all of us. And so on that note, I want to say to you, do have a good night. Remember the big ones we have. The debate, we're looking forward to having that, and we're looking forward to hearing what are the projects and how our poor and ordinary Guyanese citizens are going to benefit from this $200 million that we've withdrawn from the oil fund. Do have a good night. Take care. God bless you. See you again next week for more on advancing the cause. Good night.
Thank you for watching our program. See you right back here, same place, same time. And remember, hold the line of battle, comrades. Our victory is sure.